Okay, this is going to be part 3 to the last 2 videos I posted. And this is going to be my breakdown video of what I have to say about all of it. And I'm going to try to explain it in the simplest terms that I can. Terminology that I'm just going to go kindergarten with it. That way you can understand it better. I understand it in a alchemical language, so I'm going to try to explain that the best way I can in English. Okay, God to me, God, creator, whatever, source, the one, is nature. It's nature. It's undefinable. We don't know what the energy behind it is. I understand it to be conscience. It's the creative force. It's a closed construct. It eats itself. The numbers are, well, oh, why did we do that? The numbers are, why is it doing this? Why am I not writing? What's going on? It's 1.618. It's a ratio. This is the number that nature works on, but that number builds on itself. We define it as 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. It takes 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13. It builds on what was before. And when you do that in a graph, it looks like this. So we think of an expanding universe, an expanding system, that nature itself is always expanding. But we also know that this is a closed construct, and that nature eats itself. Any tree that grows dies and becomes the fertilizer. What we call the earth, the only way that it can expand outward or grow larger would be 2 ways. One is by an outside material or matter. Asteroids, comets, whatever. That can add mass to our construct. I don't care if it's flat, domed, whatever. That's one way that it can gain mass. And we study in science is the study of nature. So we know that heat causes expansion. About expansion, you notice that it's expan, scion, which is contraction, which is funny because Jupiter is expansion and the Jupiterians are the ones that run all contracts, which actually belongs to Saturn, the word. So we have this system that eats itself. Nature appears to be expanding, and it does that, but it's at the same time consuming itself. The only way it can expand is through, again, heat or outside source. So we have heat. Heat can be generated in several ways, but predominantly we're going to understand it as like microwave radiation, solar radiation, cosmic radiation. There's an inner source and an outer source. The inner source is what you would call, I guess the terminology I would use would be like spontaneous combustion. The heat builds from inside. Generally, the heat that's built from inside, not using fire or a combustible engine or type of ignitant, then you would have to use vibration. It's frequency and vibration is what it is. When a frequency can cause a thing to heat up, or everything is in motion. There's nothing that's not in motion. Even when we look at the smallest microbes, we see massive amounts of motion. Everything is in motion. And that's all a frequency. Because of the motion, it emits a frequency. So, again, when a thing speeds up, it's going to get hotter because there's friction. When a thing slows down, it's going to get colder. But at the same time, even cold can cause expansion. Like if you freeze a bottle of water, that water is going to expand that bottle and it'll make it bulge out, right? And that's a different process. But heat does the same thing. Heat can also expand. Saturn has attributes of being dry and cold, to where Jupiter's attributes are wet and hot, hence contraction, expansion. Time and space, the right place at the right time. All things are within time. If anything was created, the first thing that was ever created is time. Everything is within time. That's why we understand time is the ultimate ruler. That's the only thing we're really given here is time. And all of that relates to Saturn. That's why he's the god of the living and the dead. Heaven and earth. Because all things are within it. And that's the crown. He's the crown chakra. You get the crown chakra by opening the third eye instead of the evil eye. Everybody's blind unless you open one of the eyes. This is an age of the blind leading the blind. Now, I want to backtrack a little bit and tie a couple of the previous videos where I've talked about Paul's writings opposed to the red words. The red words are strictly for the age of Aquarius. Paul was the prophet of Pisces, Jupiter, but at the same time, he was leading the flock. The flock has been led out of Egypt, through the wilderness in Aries, in the desert of Asia, into the mountainous Europe white, and now it's taking it to the red. But while in the white, Paul's the shepherd, and he's leading the flock through the age of Pisces. That's what he's doing. I'm not denouncing Paul. I'm telling you, actually, he is the prophet for this age. If you want to know how to get along as what I'm going to call an Aquarian born in the age of Pisces, this is passing through the water. Just like Noah people had to pass through the water. Moses, the people had to pass through the water. John the Baptist, the people have to pass through the water. He was the sacrifice. John the Baptist was the sacrifice for the age of Pisces. But it was Paul, not Peter. Peter has denied Christ thrice before the sun crows. But it's Paul's writings that have always been in question as to who. He's kind of like the go-between. You have the 12 apostles, but now we're at this place that we're between two ages again, and we're leaving water, but we have to pass through that water. We're told you have to be born of water and of spirit. You have to be born of Pisces and Aquarius. That's the generation that he has always been speaking to. And Paul helps us navigate that water because he tells us he has the message of love. That love conquereth all, love covereth a multitude of sins, and that was the law in the red words. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. That was the commandment for the age of Aquarius. And you will reap what you sow. If you sow love, you will reap love. But if you sow hate, envy, jealousy, you're going to reap all that right back. It's going to be a fixed age, an immovable age, an age where we come into knowing, and with knowing comes responsibility. And you're not going to be able to, this is a time now, to learn to be self-reliable. And I'm not talking financially, I'm talking emotionally. I'm talking, you need to become an individual. You need to know who you are. This is a time to know thyself, to do exactly what the red words told us we needed to do. Taking up your cross and following him. And ever turning the other cheek. Doing the right thing. And what you do, there's the saying, what you do in secret, your Father rewards you openly. What you do in secret, the only place you can do anything secret is in your mind. You go in, you contemplate, you meditate. You focus on that one thing. You have to surrender everything. The enemy uses what you love against you. It uses your desires against you. So it's hard to go to that place, to that land of milk and honey. You have to leave all of that crap in Egypt behind. You pass through the dry wilderness of Zen. Then you cross the water. And you give up everything. You surrender. You can't go in fear. You have to go not even believing. You really have to go knowing. Belief always leaves room for doubt. And doubt is an adjective that describes fear. You can't, I've done this video a long time ago. It's on Inside 33. You can't have fear in this place. This place works on symbolism. This place gives you exactly what you ask for, but we've never been taught how to talk, how to ask, how to read. The red words say you have not because you ask not. Not worship, not beg, not just ask. But we ask amiss. The problem is you ask with you ask with doubt. We have to move into knowing. And that's the spirit K now. And the word now, the way we spell it, you are in the magic circle. Magic circle. You're in it. You're the KN. And that's the NK reversed. Both of these, depending on which language, that's the symbol for knowledge. And then there's the other one, which is the NG, the GN. You'll catch that one in Genesis, and that one is the Naga, but it's all the same thing. And there's one more. Oh yeah, the new one, which is actually the old one. It's the Nazarene, or the Nazah. And then it's a duality Zen, and they stole that for the Nazi. They steal everything and invert it. Everything. But it's all symbolism. And the symbolism, it's a language that nature speaks. Nature consists of the 4 elements and their 4 states. You have earth, water, fire, and air. You have solid, liquid, and gas, the 3 states of those elements. And therefore, that's your 7. There are really only 4, but there are variables within those 4 dynamics. That's why the number 4 is always related to Earth. That's why they call it the 4 corners of the Earth. And the 4 angels that hold the 4 corners are the earth, water, fire, and air. The word wind is always associated with the air signs. It's associated with the word pneumatic, spirit, wind, breath. All of these are the same things. So you have a holy wind and an unholy one. And it's funny because I wonder, the nature symbol, right? And they're perverting it. They're actually perverting the nature symbol right here with the pedophilia symbol when they do it in that's the pedophilia symbol. And it's their attempt of squaring the circle or trining it. The trine, the fire element. That's fire. For it to be air, it'd have to have a line through it, and it does not. Y'all know what I'm talking about right here. But that's what they do. Your subconscious and the universe, when you ask, you have to ask in symbol, in logo. That's why all these symbols that are on this merchandise that you buy and you put it on your body, the universe sees that symbol and it knows what that symbol means, and you're asking for the power of that symbol. You are giving your power to that symbol. You're coming in agreement with it. It's a give and take. Think about what I'm telling you here. In my opinion, the biggest problem on the planet are the advertisers. They're the adversaries. They add the verse. They tell the lie. They exaggerate their claim of the product or service. They promote it. Now, I try to not buy products that are advertised. I don't like logos. I'm just going to buy a plain white shirt. Or X a logo out, like the heaven on earth symbol. Heaven, do it again. I'm just going to keep doing this every video till y'all get it. Earth. And then our water and fire. And you can make it heaven on earth just by doing that. I was shown this symbol before. It's almost like 2 stars colliding. There's so much going on. It's the you can do it this way, just 2 X's, right? It's the same thing. It's XX. But that's the way we would X something out. We draw that red line through it. The red line for air. Actually, that's the perfect symbol for right now. If you did it in full color, it doesn't matter what the outer color of the circle is. You would just do the circle. The one going up would be, well, the bottom one, you can't do white for water. So black is earth, red is air, and you could do, oh, I've even seen it done this way, where you would do the red line there, and the black line there. Y'all have seen that symbol. Let me write that, do it without the circle, because I have seen them do this symbol. Okay, red, air, no, let's do earth, come on, my mouse is messing with me. Air is red. Let me get this back up here, I made that too long. You would do the black here, and the red, come on, here. That would be heaven on earth. And it looks like the one that has the blue is water. It is related to, actually in the age of Pisces, they even associate it with Mercury. In Gemini, Mercury was clearly red Mercury. We understand that in alchemy. The red Mercury, hence the air sign of Gemini, Hermetics. Buddha. But I prefer the other one. I prefer the one that does the Freemason symbol with just the one line through it. Because that really just, it topples that. I call this the plumb line. This is the plumb line. It's going to keep them straight. But you can have two lines for water, earth and air. You can do it that way as well. It's all sigil magic. I watch tarot readers, and I recently run upon one that is very connected to the energies of the symbols in the cards. The cards have to do with the archons, the archetypes of the stars, the planets, the energies, the elements. It's the same thing. To me, it's like a lot of people look at the Bible as a living word, and I agree, because everybody that reads it, they're going to get their own personal interpretation of it. It's relative to their understanding. And the same is with astrology. You're going to get your own personal, no matter what, all teachers are different because their understanding is different. That's why I've always encouraged, seek as many sources as you can. Always try to get witnesses and confirmations, even about what I'm telling you. But the symbols themselves are a great witness because they don't lie. You can see what they've been doing to the symbols before anybody on my channel was born. Back in the 18s and 1900s, they started turning the symbols upside down. I haven't heard anybody say this, but has anybody noticed that all of the stars on the Confederate flag are upside down? They're flipping the stars on all the flags. They're inverting them. Little bitty things that you don't notice they'll show it to you in such a way that it looks like the stars are tilted to the side. But actually they're inverted. They're turning everything upside down. And it's freaking crazy because this is an upside down world anyway. So when you go to flipping it like that, it really is throwing everything out of whack. But nature has a way of stabilizing itself. Saturn, as Pan, was known as the god of nature. Saturn, time. And they show us time, or the sands of time, right? It's the X hourglass thing. But he controls it. All things are within it. This is the only thing we can know. I don't say Saturn is God. Saturn is the only thing that we can know that helps us to understand or even begin to comprehend what God or this nature thing is, this creative force that is referred to as spirit. Everything comes from the Great Spirit. And all cultures teach this. You're allowed to blaspheme time. You're allowed to blaspheme the sun, but you're not allowed to blaspheme the spirit. And the tarot deck, that's a spiritual thing to me. And yes, it too is in duality. And it's going to depend on the one reading the deck, or who the energies are focused at. But it will help you regardless when you're watching them do the tarot. If you have a knowledge of the symbols, you read the card yourself. You shouldn't need an intermediary, and I feel that way about astrology. To me, my channel, I simply want to give you your cross. It is your responsibility to carry it. You know, you shouldn't need an astrologer. You should become your own. This is my goal. I want everybody to download Stellarium. If you start playing with Stellarium, if you start playing in the star lore, if you start learning the alchemical symbols, and just start noticing it all around you, and when you notice it, try to feel what those energies are, and learn it. Learn nature. You know, as Native Americans, we have a whole different set of symbols, and they're more like the original, right? Because North America is Earth, it's cardinal Earth, so we are very in tune with the animals and our totems. I have the playlist of the medicine cards. I suggest you learn it. That's going to be part of the knowledge of the next stage, is learning how to heal the earth and how to talk with nature. And the animals, you see, we've been disconnected. Our third eye is our connection to speaking with nature, and it's been turned off for everybody. And that has to do with what the frequency of the sun is when it's in a constellation. And it's been off for 10 ages. 10 ages it's been off. Almost 20,000 years. But now it's fixing to be turned back on. Well, the animals, they instinctively know. A bird does not teach its children how to build a nest. They just freaking know. How do they know? Because they're turned on. We're not. So because we're not turned on, we can watch them, and they tell us what's going on. They're in tune. They're representations of the archons, of the energies of nature. Nature is forever screaming at us, and we hear it not. They're trying to control nature, which is God, and this construct. We war not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. We war against the wind and the sun and the rain. We war against the earth to get it to bring forth food. That's our true battle. And then there's the inside. And we're told that whatever's going on the inside of humanity is what comes out in our world, in our societies. And if you can look at society and know that humanity is sick. Humanity is sick. We're spinning the wrong way. I think we've been spinning the wrong way for a long, long time. We think of nature spinning this way, but magnetics teach us that, that it's going to throw off a force. Have you seen the image? Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. I didn't actually find what I'm looking for yet, but I did find some good symbolism. And I want to go through some of this. Even I'm going to correct some of it. I'm going to correct some of this. That way you can see what they've been doing. You can see they put the Pisces in the middle. And if I'm seeing this right, it says XXXX, which is 2020. Mercury's the key. This would be the sun, the ring finger. This would be Saturn, and they've got the sun there. This is correct. That damn star belongs to Jupiter. But they've put the crown on the thumb. The crown should be on the middle finger. The sun should be over here. There should be a sword over here. Would be the correct symbolism. What have they done here? It's hard to see some of it. Here's a good one. How many of you can decode this symbol? You have the key, the hourglass, and the all-seeing eye. We know the hourglass is Saturn. If you know your alchemy, you know Mercury is the key. So what is the link between Saturn and Mercury? And that'll tell you who this third one is. This is air. Mercury, Saturn, and Venus. They rule all heaven and earth. This would be another actual symbolism that in it says heaven and earth. Because these three, the key to time and the eye. And it's the eye in the right hand, not the left. Which is Venus in Taurus. Choose an alchemical symbol. The Sun, Saturn, Moon, Mercury, and Venus. I like going through some of Nostradamus' work. But it's so easy. And they call this Janus. This has been it's a symbol that they even find in Native American tradition in the South along the Mississippi Basin. Again, North America is an earth sign. So you're going to find symbols of Mercury, Saturn, and Venus. Same with South America. North America and South America are heaven on earth. That's an earth symbol. Without the line, it would be water. Mercury, kind of a little inverted, perverted. It's added to. It's Mercury plus. You have almost push in Pluto. Pluto and Mercury's symbols are very close to each other. This new symbol they've given Pluto. Here is, that would be water and fire, or earth with a line because the bottom don't have the line. Oh, come on. Here's another good symbolism chart. The alchemical table of symbols. What are they calling this? The hand of the mysteries. Again, they're putting the abyss, that 2020 Pisces with water over the cross. This is for the age of Pisces. Now, if you are decoding their symbolism, this is what they're telling you. But I have the actual alchemical symbology for palmistry, and that is incorrect what they're doing. That's a spell there. Another one. They're all doing it for this age. They've hijacked every symbol on the planet and perverted it into their water magic. Oh, this one looks much better. Capricorn, Aquarius, and is that Pisces there? You know, you could put the symbol of Capricorn and Aquarius, and Saturn don't rule here, but you could do this way. I don't think this one is correct, but it's damn close. I have to go through it a little further and spend some time with it to where all the symbols actually fit on your hands, because it's all in your hands. It's all in astrology. It's all in the symbols. It's all in the tarot deck. It's in nature. It's in the medicine cards. It's in the totems. It's everywhere around the world. Here's what I'm looking for. I knew I would find it. Everybody's familiar with this picture where you look beyond the stars and you see, this is called the mechanics that run everything. The mechanics beyond the dome. That everything is within the dome, but beyond the dome. We can know what's within the dome. To go beyond the dome, the only way, I call that the land. There's another world laying right on top of this one. Right on top of it. There are many renditions of this, but it is an old alchemical symbol. But you see the cogs and the wheels and the just the winds and the clouds. These are all symbols, air symbols. They're all air symbols. Everything within the dome is within time. When the things we can learn and know about Saturn, the truth about Saturn, not the lies, not the perversion, tells us what we can know about nature. Pan was the god of nature. In Capricorn, one of the main attributes of Saturn there is agriculture. In the movie 10,000 BC, they're obviously in North Africa, but this tall guy that's building the pyramid, he's of Eurasian descent. Eurasian. He's really tall, but he has a yellowish tint to him, and even his motif comes off as extremely oriental. And they have the Africans building the pyramids, and then they start stealing the peoples from the mountains and the snow, right? Now they're going into Europe, taking these people. And in the end, the people from Africa, which is Earth, give the people from the mountains seeds, agriculture. They give them their god, Saturn. Or Venus, in that case, of the age of Taurus. It's not really 10,000 BC, or it could be Libra into Virgo. But Earth is everything around the world is designated with certain knowledge. Like I've told you over and over again, the body of Osiris, which is the whole of the knowledge, was divided up and spread around the world. And they found it all. Egypt found it all, but the phallic, but the father. So they invented one. They created a fake one. And that's the one they serve to this day. Here are the tarot symbols. And everybody has their own deck. And this is, to me, tarot is high magic. because of the symbolism. You really don't understand how powerful the tarot deck is. And these people that make these decks, they're inspired by the muses to do so. If you just do it for profit or gain, the symbolism, you have to really understand alchemy and the symbolism that goes with these cards. And there are different kinds of decks. I'm just now really starting to... I've been watching it for a few years, actually. And I pay close attention to how well I think the reader is connecting with the symbolism. And are they connecting with the good or the bad? There's some good symbolism there. Catching the evil eye. There's a difference between the all-seeing eye, the third eye, and the evil eye. Right? Their duality. The evil eye is actually a representation of the false phallic. It's the false eye. It's the false eye. The true eye being the third eye, the crown chakra. You know, the zodiac is a magic circle. We all have our own circle and we all have our own cross. We all have our own burdens to bear. My life is no different. Just because I have this knowledge, I understand it, I'm still learning. I could never live 1,000 lifetimes and remember everything and learn all of this knowledge. So I'm forever learning too. Has it made my life any easier? No. My life's always been a disaster. It always will be. I come to terms with that a long time ago. It's the challenges and the obstacles. It is the journey. Because I get stronger and I get better. I probably wouldn't have it any other way. I would be bored to death if my life didn't have its chaotic moments to shake me up. I generally learn something along the way. But it did make my life easier because now I know. And it's a lot easier for me to accept it. Because I know. I don't have to have blind faith. I don't have to have anything. I'm actually satisfied. I just want to know what I know better. Every time I do a chart, I actually learn something more. I see something more. I understand it or see it in a way I didn't see it in another chart. I am constantly and forever transmuting, growing in my own circle, becoming. And that's what I want for all of you. And a lot of you are, and I know it's hard, everybody's hung up on what's going down in the world. You know what? The sun's going to come up tomorrow, and if it don't, then none of this matters anyway. The only thing that's important is to learn to be the love, be the kindness. We're actually manifesting this mess. But we are influenced by outside forces, the elements of nature. And they're warring against us. They're warring over us. And those that try to control the elements. I like to be as natural as possible. I've been through the growing up, peer pressure, try to be like the Joneses, want to fit in. These days, I just want to be myself. And I don't wear jewelry. I don't wear a lot of makeup or any. You know, I haven't actually put on makeup in a while. I don't carry a phone. That seems to upset a lot of you. I have what they call the Google Talk thing, but it's terrible. It don't let you answer it. And I have been quite fine without a phone. The only thing I even have the Google for is so I can get a text from Google to verify my thing, and it's all on the internet. It's all VoIP. It's not something you can carry around with you, so I'm happy not to have it. I'm free from that. I got sucked into computers early. I was on the wave. I'm talking, I was back with Pong and Atari and Sega. Way back before even Nintendo. So I've always been into the tech thing. But at the same time, I grew up very in tune with nature. I had no problem talking with the animals. So when I began later, as I grew up and began to learn about, well, that's what the Native Americans do. They talk to nature. That's the knowledge they were given. Cardinal Earth. And so the knowing. It's the knowing. It gives you a sense of peace. And you're okay with it now. It takes me right back to when I was in the 6th grade. And I could make straight A's. But I had a problem with the English teacher. And I didn't understand why. I wanted to know why I had to have this knowledge. And she didn't have the answer, directed me to learn a foreign language, which I did, and then I understood why. And then I became fascinated with it at that point, and language just took off for me. The subject I hated the most, English, I hated it. It was freaking boring. It has become the most important subject I ever took, and I regret not embracing it more. I wish I would have learned more about the language younger, but that information just wasn't readily available as it is today on the internet. So when the internet came out, I exploded. I already had all these languages under my belt that I just picked up along the way in my journey. And then alchemy was just, I moved into this house out in the middle of nowhere, 55 miles to go get a gallon of fresh milk. And it had a truckload full of Masonic books and books back from the 1800s, going all the way back for generations. And I began reading them, and at the same time, occult.biz was taking off, and it was extremely esoteric. It was full of nothing but alchemists back then, and old alchemy manuscripts they were trying to save for posterity before they disappeared, and then it got taken over. But I got the ability to have the original materials in my hand, and then access to all of this online information. And for 10 years, I had no idea what it was I learned. And I needed another witness. I needed something to bounce it off of. And astrology was that. And when I put the two together, the Bible and language and everything opened up to me. Every key in it was just like having a master key that opened every lock. Oh, now I understand science. Well, now I understand astrology. Well, I understand the Bible now. Well, I understand how they divided the tongues and what this really means now. Oh, I get the spell. I see the man behind the curtain now. I get it all. And it's just an incredible thing, and that's what I want you to have. And I don't know how to give it to you any other way, but showing you it from many different directions. I don't want you to be confined to a domed earth or a flat earth or even an eyeball earth. You have to be able to really understand that there are no limits here. The only thing you have is time. Your worst enemy is fear. Fear kills creation. It's a destructive force. From its fruits, this tree called fear has fruit, and its fruit is hate, jealousy, even ambition. Ambition comes from fear because it's that competition. You have two trees in this duality. It is love and hate. All things come from those two trees. We come from those two trees. Actually, the thing about it is, it's one tree. It's the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and it's the tree of life and death. It's one force, and it's not the force, it's not the power, it's what you do with it. It's one eye. It's either full of darkness or it's full of light. If thine eye be single, thy body will be full of light. But if thine eye be dark, oh, how great the darkness. Red words. Be the kindness, people. If you really want to get somewhere in this world, and you really want to know, and you want to have some knowledge and understanding that can bring about this peace in your life, then this is what you need to learn. You need to learn alchemy. It is the key to everything you ever wanted to know. It's like Wingdings, right? I think Wingdings font is the new evil eye alchemy, if anybody's caught on to that yet. That's what they use it for. There's spells in those symbols. Think about what I'm telling you. You know, and they take good symbols and give them bad, be afraid, don't touch it, don't look at it. And then they take evil symbols and tell you it's the most wonderful thing in the world. Like the pedophilia symbol. It's everywhere. It's all over Las Vegas. It really is. These inverted, perverted symbols are everywhere. It's hard to go anywhere you don't find them. Go learn how nature talks to you. Take the time for the Native American medicine cards. Go in that playlist and then start paying attention. If you'll pay attention to nature, it'll pay attention to you. And the birds and the animals will come. They will start appearing before you, and then you can go into the medicine cards and you know what that message is. You know what message that animal brings. And it's for you. It's not for the world. It's a message for you. So pay attention. You're being talked to all the time. You have the advertisers talking to you with their symbols all the time. So what about nature? You got phi and pi, and all they are is pie in the sky. Be the kindness, be the love in this world. You'll never regret it.